Hi everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, the Academy for Women's Empowerment. My name is Ferenike and I am a coach for women's empowerment. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to get notified for the new videos that I upload every Wednesday and Friday, all about empowering and believing in yourself. The topic for today is something that is so widespread that we almost feel is normal, and it's how to handle emotional stress and all kinds of stress, really. If you are human on this planet Earth, you probably have experienced at some point stress in your life, emotional stress or any kind of stress, whether that has to do with your career, with your finances, with your personal relationships, or with your family. It doesn't matter. We all at some point will experience some kind of emotional stress, emotional turmoil. And it's very important to understand how is best to deal with those emotions, because traditionally speaking, previous generations didn't have the tools or the practices to help them deal with them. So as a society, we have dedicated a lot of unproductive practices on how to handle emotional stress. So what most of us do is when we feel emotionally triggered or activated, we tend to eat a lot without feeling hungry. So we don't eat from hunger, but we eat from emotions. We might be smoking a lot, drinking alcohol to just numb our emotions and not feel them as much. And in some cases also use drugs or any type of way to really silence the pain and don't feel it as much. And all of those ways and methods are widely spread in our society today, and all of them are not productive. I wish there was a lesson at school that we can all learn how to handle emotions, because we are emotional beings, and to treat ourselves like we don't have any emotions, it's just, hiding behind our finger. It's just like we are emotional beings, and it's very important to make sure that we know how to handle them, because not handling those emotions can have very severe consequences. Some of those are, psychosomatic or cancer. Cancer is now that there are research that shows that cancer is nothing else other than emotions that we never dealt with, very dark emotions that we never deal with, or we didn't have the tools or the capacity or the courage to actually deal with them. So what we did was just to bottle them up or just put them under the carpet and never looked at them. So this is an unproductive way to deal with emotions, and today I'm going to share with you the 6 the 6 steps that I take every single time I feel emotionally activated or triggered. And I have been doing that for more than 7 years. So the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel with that process. And you can see how you, by dealing with those emotions productively, you can actually heal yourself, and you can heal those aspects of yourself that are hurting, and over time you're going to feel an amazing feeling of harmony and peace in your body, and a very light feeling. Trust me, because I've been through this process and I know how it feels. So the first thing is to understand and realize that the thoughts that we have in our head are the ones that produce the emotions, the emotional reaction in our body. So the thoughts are originated here, and the feelings are in the body, is under the neck. So when we have beautiful thoughts, we have beautiful feelings. When we have ugly thoughts, we have ugly feelings. So it's not about trying to change the thought process, because once we have been emotionally activated, this is not possible. The momentum of the feeling is so intense that we can't really change our thought pattern. What we can do though is drop from the head that is doing all the scenarios, the what ifs, and all of those scenarios that we go through when we have those negative emotions. Drop from the head into the body. And the more we connect with our body and feel those feelings, because most of us, we probably have been trained to flee of them, or to just do something else to distract ourselves from looking at those emotions. So it's very counterintuitive from what we have been trained as a society to do. So most of us, we are used to eat and not deal with the emotions, or drink and not deal with the emotions, or smoke and not dealing with the emotions. So instead of that, we need to train ourselves to really drop from the head into the body and feel those emotions. Sit with them. And I know that requires some type of courage, but I promise you, how you'll feel afterwards is priceless. So first thing is, you drop from the head into the body. Second step is to take responsibility for your own emotions and say, I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel betrayed, I feel powerless, whatever that emotion is. But don't put the blame on other people. So he made me feel like this, or she made me feel like this, or this situation had me going through this. So it's about taking responsibility for your own emotions and own them. This is really transformative, because most of us, we're used to putting the blame on somebody else, and therefore we give our energy to somebody else, and we are not in a position to heal ourselves when we give our energy away. So the main point is to really take responsibility for our own feelings, the way we feel, regardless of what the other person did or didn't do or whatever. And because then we're more in an empowered place to make the shift, and therefore our emotions, then they don't control us, but we control our emotions. So it's transformative. So first step is drop from the head into the body. Second is take responsibility for our own emotions. Third thing is write them down. Take a piece of paper and a pen and write down all of your emotions with not too much thinking. Just write them down as it comes out from the heart. But in the first person. So I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel powerlessness, I feel betrayed. And just pour it out on the piece of paper, and you'll be surprised how light you're gonna feel afterwards. Because when we get them out of our system, we are going to feel so much lighter as a result, and we are in a much more empowered place to look at them and make the shift. So the third piece is to write them down, and the fourth step is to read them back to ourselves after we have write them down. And when you write them down, of course you're going to feel those negative emotions. You are required to really sit with that uncomfortable emotion, with that negative emotion. So surely you might want to cry, and that's okay. If you want to cry, if you want to scream, if you want to yell, that's okay. But then you do it in a productive way, because you're writing them down and you look at them. You don't just bottle them up, you let them out in a productive way. So it's absolutely okay. And then the fourth step is to really have compassion and empathy for ourselves. So when we read them back to ourselves, you will understand and you'll see that what you've written down is too emotional and there's not logic in it. And that's okay, that's normal. Most of us go through this. So there's not logic in what we write down, but there's lots of emotion. So we get to have sympathy for ourselves. We get to have compassion for ourselves, like we would have for another friend, for another person. If someone would come to us and say, that's how I feel really bad, I feel sad. So we then develop compassion and empathy for ourselves, and that's when the healing process starts. And then we can give a meaning. So what does that mean? Why do I feel this way? And then once you write them down in a long period of time, you start to see that there are certain patterns that you have. You get pissed off or you get angry for certain behaviors. So then you can start healing that. By taking ownership, you always heal. You always heal, because then you can transform, you can alchemize that emotion. So that emotion doesn't have power over you, you have power over that emotion, and that's change everything. So the fourth step is to read them back to yourself and have compassion and empathy for yourself and really make a meaning. What does that mean? Why did I feel this way? And then the fifth thing that I do, and you might take it or leave it, but I have found, in order to change the biochemistry of my body, because when you go through this emotional process, you're gonna feel those icky emotions. So you're gonna feel much lighter when you write them down, but there's still some parts that are still lingering there. So what I do is I do some type of very intense exercise, whether that is for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, just to really sweat it out. And when I do that, I imagine and I visualize all of those negative emotions that they're getting out of my system, out of my body, in a form of sweat. And once I do that, then the last and final step, the sixth step, is really to have a shower and just let it go completely. And I feel reborn. Really. I have done this many times in my life. Every single time I feel emotional stress or any type of activation or triggering in my body, I understand a lot more about my patterns and my behaviors and when do I feel certain emotions. So it's a great self-awareness process, but you also feel so much lighter and you don't bottle up those emotions. You don't eat chocolate and smoke and alcohol, but you really deal with them from the root, and that's a very healthy way to do it. So if you try this method and those steps, please let me know in the comments below. How did you feel? Or anything else that you might try. So you might choose, if you're not very athletic and if you don't want to do something to sweat it out, you perhaps can do something creative. So you can draw, or you can write music or poems, or whatever is your thing that would change your biochemistry. But for me, it's really productive to do some kind of physical exercise. But if you're not a very physical person, just try something different, or perhaps some type of connection with nature. Of course, that's always healing. So that was it from me to you today. I hope you found this process very valuable, and I hope you try them, or you try it for yourself. And we'll speak again next week. Until then, take care of yourself and love yourself. Mwah.